I got started in racing at quite a late age. I'm 26 now, and I started when I was 20 at my local championship at Castle Combe, where I had a Ford Fiesta, and I just learnt how my racecraft there, learnt how to do apexes and stuff, and it turns out I did quite well, and I ended up winning my class there. And then we had an opportunity to go into a Ginetta G40, which was new to me with rear wheel drive, and we put in a few competitive lap times, and they gave us an opportunity to then race in the Ginetta GT5 Challenge, which supports the British GT. And a few years later I ended up becoming vice champion in that series, and I moved up into the Ginetta GT4 SuperCup, where this is now my third year, and I'm with Douglas Motorsport, and we're fighting for the championship. So only 6 years in it, but we seem to be doing really well. I'm hoping to get into the LMP3 route, where I'm looking to try and pursue getting into possibly a support race for the Le Mans 24 Hour. Or British Touring Cars is always a good thing to try and get into, but it's very difficult with people's budgets. But I have got my name out now. The worst accident I've had was at Spa in one of the G40s when we were doing a European round, and I went at the top of Eau Rouge. It's only a small car, but it still went into the concrete wall quite hard. And the first thought is probably more, how much is it going to cost, rather than am I feeling alright, to be honest, because it's a very expensive game to be in, and your first thought is, am I going to be racing for the rest of the weekend? But then when you sort of realise that everything's working, you bounce back. But it's all about sort of mentally as well. You need to get back in a good frame of mind, and when you go back out again, you just need to forget that you had an accident and keep pushing, and then when you take that corner, everything's alright, and then you start pushing again. Well, I've got to pinch myself every morning, every time I've got to go to a racetrack, because it's just living the dream really, and everyone wants to do it. So I can't really sort of argue or moan that there's any bad things, but all I can think of is sometimes on a Sunday when there's like 40,000 people spectating and you're on pole position, you feel under a little bit of pressure, that you don't want to make a mistake, or you don't want to let the team down. So that's the only bad side to it. But the good side is pretty much everything. You're just trying to be a race driver and just trying to live your dream. On the warm-up lap, it's just focusing on getting all the tyre temperature up together, feeling that the car's alright, just trying to get my bearings, trying to feel the track temperature, get used to the grip levels before I go out and give it 110%. So really I am focused on the track. I don't really want to sort of have a look around me and lose my attention, otherwise I'll end up going off. And my wife as well, she, at the start when I first met her, she didn't have a clue about racing, she hated it, but I soon got her to enjoy it, and she's my #1 fan now, and she comes to every meeting and she really enjoys it. So I've managed to convert her into a racing fan. So my aims for this weekend and the final at Brands is, well, hopefully to try and steal the championship off Tom Wriggle. But at the minute, during practice, it's all going well at the moment, topping the timesheets, and we just feel we need to get a little bit more speed together and try and get a nice race car down us for the setup. And I'm sure Douglas Motorsport will give me a good car for the weekend. But the forecast is looking a little bit wet during Saturday, so anything can happen in the wet, to be honest. And hopefully I can just keep the car on the track and a little bit of luck, and we'll see what happens.
Will Burns knew he was in for a fight over the weekend, but could never imagine how close it was going to be. Will started off really well on Friday practice and was the fastest driver on track in both sessions. Showers overnight meant the track was challenging for qualifying. The newly resurfaced Grand Prix part of the circuit offers a lot of grip, while the regularly used Indy circuit is the complete opposite. For qualifying, Will had a fresh set of wet tyres. He knew what he had to do and put in a blistering lap of 1 minute 40.716, which was over a second quicker than anyone else, and most importantly, Wrigley, who is leading the championship, was back in 10th. The 35-point gap dropped to 34 as Will received an extra point for pole position.
They're going to pick something on the car to scrutinise. Could be the wishbones, could be the air filters, and then the top 3 cars will get scrutinised. Sometimes they even get things to take the gearbox out. They won't today because there's a race in 5 hours. So, and then they get weighed because they have a minimum weight, and if that's all right, cars back to the tent.
With further rain before the first race, things were set for the title fight to begin. Due to the pole position on the grid being on a slight incline, Will did not get the best starts and lost the lead on lap 2. And due to the difficult conditions, he battled hard to retake the lead, which he did on lap 7 and on to his first race win of the weekend. Importantly, Wrigley started well but was only able to make it to 7th place. Now the gap is down to 12 points and the pressure is starting to mount.
Those 4 drivers, Will Burns, time out from
With Will starting in pole again, the chance of a championship is starting to seem a realistic possibility. And to add to the drama, the weather is very changeable. The teams are watching the Formula 4 race closely who are currently on track and running slicks. With the cars in the holding area, with slicks on one side and dries on the other, the teams are trying to decide on what to do. They're watching the sky closely and trying to determine which way the clouds are going. They're also watching the teams around them. You can cut the tension with a knife. The safety car is ready to lead them out. And suddenly, 1 minute before, the teams all spring into action and make the decision. For Will and all but 4 teams, it's dry tyres. From a strategy point of view, when fighting for a crucial result, you must go with the majority, and certainly the same as your rival. As the cars head out onto the track, 2 cars nip into the pits and quickly change on to wet tyres as well. Will finishes the race in 5th and Wrigley in 8th, which means going into the final race there are only 7 points separating the 2 championship contenders. The final showdown was set for 3 on Sunday. The tension with Will's friends and family was not something you could explain or even show. It really was a case you had to be there. But a few weeks ago it would have seemed impossible as he was over 100 points behind. Wrigley had led the championship since the beginning and it all comes down to this. In reality, Will has to finish in 1st or 2nd and Wrigley 2 places behind. I don't think you could write this, but Burns lined up on the grid just ahead of Wrigley, separated only by 1 car. After fighting their way through the pack, the 2 championship contenders were in 3rd and 4th, and all Will has to do is pass the car of Mitchell and hope that Wrigley could stay behind. The championship had come down to the final lap of the final race of the season. Burns made a move coming into Paddock Hill and took 2nd from Mitchell and was now leading the championship. Wrigley knew he had to react and was level with Mitchell coming out of Druids and was into 3rd spot and the championship lead again. All Will could do was hope Mitchell was able to take the 3rd spot back, but it was not to be and the race finished with Burns in 2nd and Mitchell in 3rd, but winning the championship by only 3 points.